West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, August 7th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe. We weren't actually fighting. It was a joke. It was a reference. It's okay. You don't have to call.
Yeah, I know.
There's no violence, Mom.
You don't have to call the police. Yeah, it was just wrestling like brothers. You know how that is. Give each other nudges.
Did you ever, where were you in the birth order?
Oh, I'm up top. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything had to run through me.
Are you the oldest?
Yeah.
So
it's
I'm
only
the
my brother
oldest,
and I. Yeah.
Yep. It was just you and your brother?
Yep, and you got two others.
Yep,
Yeah.
and I had two younger brothers. Okay. Did you ever have the brother that when you were wrestling and laughing, and then they hear Mom would go, ow!
Oh, no, not at all.
And then you were like, wait, what? And then you'd hear, Jeff, knock it off! Quit hitting your brother! And you're like, I didn't wait. And then just
funny.
sit there and laugh and be like,
the thing for me is, happened
to me a lot.
I had a really interesting dynamic growing up, and it was done on purpose because of my parents. And my mom grew up, and there was a large age gap between her and her younger brother. And then my father is one of five, and they're like, boom, 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 boom. They're kind of tight, and so based on how the two of them grow up, they made the conscious choice to space my brother and I out. So there's 9 years between my brother and I. I can count the number of times we fought growing up on one hand and have fingers left over.
Really? Oh, yeah, I guess
count,
9 years.
Yeah, I can count maybe twice. And one of them, I was being a pain in the ass. I should not have been angry at him for what he was doing. He was being a kid at the time. The other one, yeah, it's legit, but that's fair, and that's fine. He was my best friend. In fact, I would go and pick him up if I had half days of school during elementary school. I would go to where he went to school or the childcare, pick him up, and then we'd hang out the rest of the afternoon. And I didn't have a car at the time, so this means I'm 2-footing it on a skateboard with him. There's a way that I was able to get my younger brother on the skateboard, and we could travel around town. We covered miles of things, and I was
Here
able
come
to.
the Thorpe brothers.
Oh yeah, in fact, he was called Little Bill because of it. Yeah, and the soccer team and everything else, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, he was Little Bill, and I was able to remind him, luckily, because of spending all this brotherly time with him during his wedding, I was able to remind everybody in attendance that, yes, my younger brother proudly was there because of my dedication to making sure I took care of him, that, yes, we saw the opening day of the Care Bears movie and the Rainbow Bright movie, the My Little Pony movie, and yeah, we were there in the Transformers movie too, but yes, I had to embarrass him and go, yeah, I took you to Care Bears. You want to see the Care Bears movie? I am like in 7th grade, we went to Care Bears. Yeah.
That is funny.
Yeah, that's, again, how many years did I have to hang on to that to finally use that as revenge? Yeah.
Billy and I not actually fighting.
No,
so
not at all.
It's all right. We've got a lot to cover this hour. We're going to be joined by Christy Burton Brown, Executive Vice President of Advance Colorado. The state heading into a special legislative session ordered by Governor Jared Polis as the state of Colorado faces a $1.2 billion budget shortfall. What to do, who to blame? Democrats saying, well, it's the big, beautiful bill. Has cut corporate taxes. It's not coming into the state the same way it did. We are not going to be able to provide basic services. People are going to die in the streets as a result of these greedy Republicans who just want to keep their own money. We'll be talking with Christy Burton Brown about how they're going to try to attack Tabor in order to do so. Or is this just the Democrats' fault? As we heard from Barb Kirkmeyer the last hour, they created these programs. They're addicted to the spending. It came in via COVID, one-time spending, but oh no, we're going to build long-term, ongoing, special projects embedded into every different department. And in addition to that, spend tons of money on illegal immigrants. This is not a taxing problem. It is a spending problem, and the bill is right at the foot of Jared Polis and the Democrats here in Colorado, and that's who to blame. And can Tabor survive all this? Christy Burton Brown, Executive Vice President, Advance Colorado, coming up. But now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. It is Thursday, 75, partly cloudy outside. Expecting a high of 98 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, United Airlines has resumed flights after resolving a technical issue that forced the FAA to issue ground stops for all United flights. The airline has confirmed that a system error caused an outage last night, which disrupted flights to Chicago and several other major hubs.
I've been saying he's been mismanagement for the last 7 years. But
State Senator Barb Kirkmeyer on with Jeff and Billy last hour talking about the governor. And Governor Polis has ordered a special session to address a projected $1.2 billion budget shortfall. They're drafting proposals that could scale back programs like SNAP, Medicaid, and child tax credits. Republicans blame the crisis on overspending. Kirkmeyer knows what happened.
they're saying that we need to go increase taxes, and because they have mismanaged the budget, because they took one-time COVID dollars and turned them into ongoing spending, because they didn't fund core critical priorities in this state, core functions of government in this state first. Instead, they funded all the nice-to-haves, all the things that they just really wanted to do, all the governor's pet projects.
The General Assembly is back at the Capitol August 21st. The president posting last hour that he has instructed our Department of Commerce to immediately begin work on a new and highly accurate census based on modern-day facts and figures. DJT and Putin could meet as soon as next week. That's the word today from the Kremlin, which noted the summit was suggested by 47 and the administration. Trump has been pushing Russia for a ceasefire in Ukraine. Hopefully, it will end this thing. Hopefully. Don't hold your breath. DJT's global tariffs are now in effect. The import taxes that went into effect at midnight will reach levels not seen in the U.S. in almost 100 years. General Flynn has been saying it for almost 2 years. After October 7th, may have been a stand down by the IDF. Dropped it again Wednesday with Steve Bannon.
Something went wrong because, Steve, I have personally walked that border. I have been down at those areas, and I know the details of how the Israelis, one of the most secure borders in the world, how they do their operations. So I know that. So something broke down, and it wasn't because of mistakes. So that's number one. This internal machinations that are going on right now, what's going to have to happen? They're going to have to come to grips with this, because I'm going to tell you, the American people, they're getting tired of it. They're getting tired of this constant, Israel. I mean, I'm the biggest fan. I would, I have been to Israel many times. I have, served alongside them. I have done things with them, certainly on the intelligence side. So I'm their biggest fan. But the American people are not.
That's true. Judge Janine says we have to get tough on crime and lower the age, because 14 and 15-year-olds are committing these crimes, like the one we saw with Doja's Big Balls 2 nights ago. It was horrible. He was assaulted in D.C. as he tried to help his girlfriend.
They go to family court where the effort is rehabilitation. The D.C. Council, and the president is right, they've got to stop their coddling. Number one, we've got to lower the age of responsibility to 14. I'm tired of having these kids commit crimes in their crews, not gangs in D.C. We've got an intern, you said it in your open. He's an intern from college. He gets shot going out for McDonald's at 10:30 at night. This kid is trying to help his girlfriend or his friend to a car. He gets assaulted, and but for a cop going by, they would have, had they gotten him on the ground, they would have stopped him and finished him.
Unbelievable. A woman will make Major League Baseball history this weekend as the first to ever umpire a regular season game. Jen Powell will umpire in 3 of the 4 games between the Marlins and the Braves in Atlanta. She will be behind home plate for the series finale on Sunday.
Really? This is the first female umpire?
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Yeah.
It's 2020. There hasn't been any restrictions, has there?
No, I don't think so. I have seen a few in minor league baseball, but I didn't know that it had never happened in Major League Baseball. But I mean, that thing, absolutely, that is a highly competitive field. I mean,
it is to be an ump?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think you have to be such a unique type of person to want to do that.
Oh, no question.
To just take all the heat all the time for really no fame, right? So, like, if you're an actual athlete, you take heat, but then you're also famous, so you're like, oh, I guess it just comes with a job.
Do you remember managers like Billy Martin? Do you remember him?
No.
Yankees? Okay, so he would get in to fights and altercations with umpires almost every other night. Billy will remember Billy Martin, but he actually used to manage in Denver with the Bears,
a
long time ago. But he used to go after them constantly. Earl Weaver, another one. But I'm envisioning one of those fights with the female umpire and a manager.
She'll send him out. She's going to be tough. She's not going to take any of it.
Oh yeah, no, she would throw him out, but it doesn't matter because the altercation, the talk continues.
I got a question on this. Now again, this is not about having the female umpire at all or anything else. Mm-hmm. What I got to know is why haven't we automated this job yet? We keep talking about AI and automation.
Aspect of this. Yeah. It's on its way, though. Yeah, I think next season.
It should be because if they can put a computer box on my TV screen and tell me whether or not it's a strike or a ball,
true,
you do it in the stadium. I shouldn't be able to have more information sitting at home than the person who is deciding the rules.
It's true.
Just as a general thing, that's how we operate in sports.
True.
Yeah,
it's true. I think they need him to hand him the new balls, the catcher.
I think that's it. Yes.
If there's a pass ball or whatever.
Yes. Now, Jeff, just between you and me, understand that Blake just talked about a female umpire handing someone balls. Just saying. The new ones.
Yes, I did.
Yes,
I did say that.
Oh, Bill, you are being quite inappropriate.
Yes, I am.
Also, guys, there's nothing like a big fat guy umpire behind the catcher. That's just without that, is it really? Really baseball? Those guys are in great shape, though.
At times, if you can see the knees of the catcher outside the girth of the umpire, you're like, is he really an umpire?
Yeah.
Has he really done this enough? Has he had enough of those chili dogs between innings to really, really do this right? Yeah, I know.
There are so many guys, especially, but I'm sure gals too, who want to be big league umpires, and it takes a long time to get up there.
One day we should do this. Okay, that's just to sidetrack this completely and totally, and Blake will know, and Jeff knows him as well. You know who we should bring on to talk about umpires in baseball is former KNUS personality Bill Rogan. Because he's been managing minor league baseball for the past few seasons.
Yes.
So he's been dealing with some of those training umpires, and he has some great stories. We have to do that maybe on a Friday or something like that. Bring him on and talk about baseball and have him talk about automating the umpires and everything else. Maybe we'll have to do that. I'll reach out to Bill and see what he's doing.
I love it. He's probably listening right now, so he'll give you a call. 60. Everybody listens to this show. Didn't you know that? 64 in Parker, 65 in Arvada, 67 in Denver. Jeff and Billy, the umpires, continue. Blake Olson, News Talk, 710 KNUS.
Your day weather forecast for the Denver metro area calls for a warm morning. That'll give us a good head start to another very hot day here around the metro area and region, flirting with the century mark and record highs today. Heat advisories in effect from 10 a.m. this morning to 7 p.m. this evening. Mid-60s tonight. Hazy, smoky skies again Friday. Highs near 100. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851 801-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm meteorologist Mark Huer in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
$1.2 billion budget deficit facing the state of Colorado. Jared Polis calling a special session. What do we do? What do we do? House is on fire. Run around. And it's all the Republicans in Washington, D.C.'s fault that we don't get to take more of your money. Well, we know what this is all about. Even Bill recognizes it. It's about Tabor. The Taxpayer Bill of Rights, the unending effort by Democrats to constantly try to take more and more of your money, and this great barrier put into the Constitution that says, you want more money? Fine, just ask for it. Can you imagine the injustice around that? We don't just give lawmakers in Colorado a blank check to just go take whatever amount of money they want. Now they've found a way around that with fees, and those fees have increased 3,000% on you, by the way. 3,000%. Is this special session an attack on Tabor? How do Republicans respond? All of that we're going to get into with Christy Burton Brown. She's the Executive Vice President of Advance Colorado, a great stalwart institution in defending your taxpayer Bill of Rights. She joins us now. Christy Burton Brown, thank you so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks to both of you. Good to be on.
All right. So what's this special session really all about?
It's really all about the waste and overspending that the Democrats have created in the state budget over the last at least 7 years. I think one point that they're not drawing any attention to is that the state budget has grown by 50% over the last 7 years, while our population has only grown by 5%. And now they're being asked to cut just under 3% of the total budget. The total budget is $44 billion. They're being asked to trim about $1 billion of that. That's less than 3%. How many families around the state have had to sit around their tables, cut 3% of their budget because of inflation over the last few years? But now politicians, when they have to do it, they want to whine, blame President Trump, blame federal Republicans. And this has all been caused by Democrat overspending and waste at the state level. It's pretty clear.
That's Christy Burton Brown, Executive Vice President of Advance Colorado. Christy, just right before you spoke with Barb Kirkmeyer of the Joint Budget Committee, and she talked about all of these special projects that have been created, that the state has gotten addicted to the money that was coming from the federal government and what should have been one-time packages around COVID. Yeah. She points to the bridge that Jared Polis wanted to spend $28.5 million on a bridge that would have in part come from COVID money. We're 5 years past COVID. Why are we still spending COVID money that was supposed to kind of help prop up the state in light of all these restrictions that are being put on our economy around COVID? I mean, is this a tax issue the way the Democrats are saying that we are giving tax cuts to billionaires and to corporations while at the same time people are going to suffer in the streets as a result of it? Or is this really a spending issue? And what kind of projects has the state created that they shouldn't be spending money on?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a spending issue for the Democrats. And partly what they're complaining about, this roughly $1 billion that they have to cut, most of that is going back into pockets of people. I mean, the new number they're giving is 250 billion of it is going to overtime. And it cuts to overtime, to taxes on overtime and tips. That's what they did at the federal level. Right now they're granting that tax exception for this year in Colorado, and although they're going to tax it again next year, which is unconstitutional under Tabor. But the point is, they're complaining that money is going back into the pockets of people. It's going back into the pockets of small businesses. And so they don't want that to happen, because then they lose money for their special projects and their special interest things. They give a lot of money to NGOs. They give a lot of grants out. They pay huge, expensive vendors at the state agencies. I mean, look at all the money they spend on illegal immigrants, on going after deputies who cooperate with ICE. And so a lot of they're using state tax dollars to go prosecute that deputy and try and fine him $50,000 that incidentally wouldn't go to the state or to citizens, it would go to an immigrant fund that the state has set up. So I think there's a whole lot of areas we could look at and say, instead of complaining about taxpayer dollars going back in the pockets of taxpayers, which is what the federal government's doing, passing the biggest national tax cut in history, and that's what they're complaining about and acting like there's a bunch of cuts. It's like, no, Colorado has misspent, and now the federal government is saying, states, you need to be more responsible for your own decisions, just like regular families have to do, and the state is honestly throwing a fit over that and saying they don't want to.
That's Christy Burton Brown, Executive Vice President of Advance Colorado. Look, Christy, let's talk about the business environment here in the state. We're getting text messages from folks that are talking about how they're shutting down because they can't operate here anymore. Barb Kirkmeyer pointing out that she thinks Jared Polis is going to try to take money from businesses, small businesses, try to increase fees. They don't want to cut. They want to raise the taxes. We're watching businesses empty out of Denver. You have high vacancy rates. You have restaurants closing, specifically saying they can't operate with the costs put upon them with high minimum wage, with regulations that they have to abide by, with the fact that nobody wants to visit the city anymore. Colorado is crumbling under the weight of Democratic leadership, and they think that they're going to put more of the tax burden upon businesses to deal with this problem. What is that going to do to the business climate here in the state?
Well, even Jeff, we can see what it's already done. Colorado's been driven really down in national standings as far. I think we were rated a D- recently in business friendliness in a national survey that ranked states based on different laws and whether businesses come or stay. They're rated an F in cost of living. So that's a reality of where Colorado already is. And to your point, absolutely, taxing businesses more, what does that result in? It results in lost jobs. It results in working families who work at these restaurants that are closing, who do get overtime and tips. Not only is the state government saying you can't have your $250 million in tax cuts anymore, but the federal government's giving you, we don't want to give you that, so we're going to tax you. Now they're also going to tax the businesses at such a high level that the businesses are going to have to close, and working people not only don't get a tax break, but they also aren't even going to have jobs anymore. And so when businesses have a choice to stay in a place like Denver or Colorado, I mean, we're the number 2 most dangerous state in the nation. We get an F in cost of living, a D- in business friendliness. Why stay here when you can go to another state? And they're just going to make that issue even worse by Jared Polis' proposals in the special session. And I think, Jeff, one of the big things that we think is a lot of the proposals violate Tabor. Tabor specifically says that you cannot change tax rates and in the same year. And that's what they're trying to do in the special session, to make that effective this year. The only way you can do it is by going to voters. So any tax change that they try to pass in special session must go to voters, or it's unconstitutional and a violation of Tabor.
And that's my question to you. We hear from Barb Kirkmeyer, who says she doesn't hear Jared Polis wanting to make any cuts. She's met with his budget officials. They're not proposing any cuts. They think that they're going to try to do this by driving up taxes. So how can they do it? Is this just an effort that they're going to pass via the legislature and then force a battle in the courts? Like, where's this going to go?
So that is what they've tended to do. If you look at their record on fees, where they've violated, like what Prop 117 that voters passed, they just divide the fees into all these different enterprises and try and get around what voters said was that if you're going to charge us those high fees, you have to get voter approval. They do that all the time. They try and, take away Tabor refunds, and a lot of times the other people in the legislature shut them down when they do that because Tabor is so popular with 70% of voters. But they try everything they can, and I think they do count on the state courts being on their side, unfortunately.
Gosh, so they're gonna do something what's clearly unconstitutional, force it into the courts, have a battle there, judges appointed by Jared Polis, confirmed by the Democrats, are going to oversee this, and hence we'll just continue to march down this railroad, this train track of increased fees, now 3,000% higher than they used to be. That's how you think they're going to solve this budget crisis, through increased fees?
I mean, that's what they always try and do. Like, I think in this session, they're specifically going after raising taxes on businesses, like you said. Their original idea was to go after working families who are, got a tax break on overtime and tips, and they wanted to not give them the tax credit this year, and then also go ahead and tax tips this year. They got a lot of pushback on that, so that's now no longer in the call, although we'll see if Democrat legislators try to run those bills anyway. But yeah, they really think that that is the solution, is taxing working families more, taxing businesses more, and cutting their own special programs, their own pet projects. Like, that's just too big of an ask for them. And I think people across Colorado are getting really tired of it. People across Colorado don't buy their narrative that this is the Trump administration's fault. But oh my goodness, Republicans in Congress did this to them. They know Democrats are overspending.
Do you believe that? And I raise this because, look, KBB, we've been friends for a long time. We've been in the battle for the ideas and limited government and free markets and lower taxes in the state for years now. And here's my concern. And I'm going to be very honest. I went down to the Bernie Sanders rally, 30,000 people. And you got Republicans going, oh, they're paid plans, that type of thing. Yeah, I'm sure there's some, the organizers. But I saw genuine Coloradans down there. And I interviewed and I talked to them. And they go, we want more Bernie Sanders. We want more socialism. And I go back to our gun laws. Back in 2012, 13, if you even hinted at the idea of restricting Second Amendment rights, you were recalled, you were kicked out of office. Now the Denver Post has got a piece in about how gun restrictions are unstoppable in this state. They can pass whatever they want, and they never pay an electoral price. Democrats just continue to get more and more power. So I look at what happened with guns. I look at the 30,000 that showed up for Bernie Sanders and AOC, and I want to point out that Mitt Romney, Red Rocks, was 9,000. Okay, that was huge. We thought we got all this momentum. It was 9,000 people. They're pulling in 30,000. Civic Center Park, avowed socialists. What I thought was at one point untouchable has now become totally touchable. The Second Amendment rights and banning our Second Amendment rights. I look at Tabor and I go, never could they have touched Tabor. It is so popular. But then I see 30,000 socialists show up in Denver and I go, they believe that they can take it all. Do you think Tabor can withstand this? Are voters really going to start making Democrats pay an electoral price for all the problems that we're in? Or are we just on a pathway towards greater and greater socialism in the state? Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, Jeff, I think that's a good question. And I think there's sort of two pieces to it. I think it's a separate question whether voters are going to preserve Tabor and whether they're going to stop electing Democrats. I think, stopping the election of Democrats is a longer-term process in Colorado because our demographics have changed so much. And there are so many voters who just see the D or the R behind someone's name and make their decision based on that. But when they're voting on ballot measures and on issues, and sometimes on local races, when you don't have a D or R behind someone's name, the Republicans get elected, like in Aurora, because a lot of our issues are popular. It's just not the association with the party. So I think the party changes are further down the road. But I think the preservation of Tabor, I would separate it somewhat from the change on gun rights, which I'm not happy about either, of course. But Tabor is popular with 70% of people in Colorado. That very obviously has to include a majority of Democrats, unaffiliated, and Republicans. And recent polling has, in fact, showed that it is a majority of Democrats who support Tabor. You look at gun rights, and it's really never been that way in Colorado. I mean, maybe in the early 1900s, but Democrats were always on the other side. And so when the demographics changed and more Democrats came to Colorado, you see then gun rights shifting. But on economic issues and public safety issues, the majority of Coloradans are almost always with us. And I think that's going to stay. Colorado's like a libertarian-ish state. And so they are more economically conservative. They like the right to vote on new taxes, which is what Tabor guarantees them. They like that Tabor check in the mail. They also want their streets to be safe. But unfortunately, on a lot of social issues, they tend to vote Democrat because of social issues. So I don't know, it's a little bit unfortunate that Democrats don't see the cognitive dissonance in their choice to do that, but I do think Tabor is safe.
And I think you kind of run into the challenge with these Democrats in office like we did with oil and gas, where the voters go, no, we like this industry. It's important. And then Democrats get elected and like, we're going to tank it anyways. And then voters are like, well, let's continue to elect Democrats. So my concern is with the voters of Colorado, you're going to put Democrats into office. You're going to stand with Tabor. You're going to put Democrats into office. And what KBB is saying is going to happen. They're going to attack your taxes via fees. They'll force court battles. The courts are set up to favor them. Lo and behold, you're going to get people that violate the very principles you support simply because you put Democrats into office. Christy Burton Brown with Advance Colorado. Now, Christy, you've been very generous with your time. Just a few more minutes. I'd love Advance Colorado delivering some of the best ballot initiatives out there, actually getting common sense things passed. Can you give us some insight? Are you running any ballot initiatives this fall? Any ideas of what we might see next year? Give us some updates on the work of Advance Colorado.
Totally. Thanks, Jeff. And I think really this is the answer for citizens who want to see changes is, there is only so far the legislature can go to attack Tabor. Even the courts wouldn't stand with them all the way. And voters can always push back on the ballot. And we see voters doing that in off years whenever the Democrats try to attack Tabor, like Prop CC, Prop HH, both of which we fought and defeated. Voters tell Democrats no when they go too far on Tabor. And so we're not running anything this year because you actually have to be taking Tabor money to run things on the ballot this year or taking away taxpayers' money. But in 26, we have a whole host of ballot measures that we're working through title board right now. We have one that would guarantee jail time for fentanyl drug dealers. That one's very, very popular. Another one that would require law enforcement to cooperate with ICE and the Department of Homeland Security when they charge a violent criminal or a repeat felon. We have another one that deals with the fees issue. So it actually require voter approval for fees and take that away from the legislature as a way to secretly tax people, but call it fees. I think you mentioned fees have grown 3,000% in Colorado, and it is because they use that as a way to tax people. So we'd be taking away that power from them through that ballot measure. We have a whole host of other ones, but those are three that we're really focused on right now.
Fantastic work coming from the great people at Advance Colorado. Follow them on X at Advance Colorado. Follow Christy Burton Brown, the Executive Vice President there at KBB Colorado. Thank you so very much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
That's Christy Burton Brown. All right, we'll get to the phone lines. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. It's heating up down at the state capitol. Special session called by Governor Polis. $1.2 billion budget deficit. Do you agree with Republicans? Look, it's a $44 billion budget. You're spending more than you ever have before. $1.2 billion is not the end of the world. Cut out some of your special projects. Fund what's important. Put the money with the citizens first. Or do you agree with Democrats? The sky's falling, people are going to die, and it's all those rich Republicans who are getting the tax breaks that are to blame for this. 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News
Day
Talk
with
710
the forecast.
KUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Jared Polis calling a special legislative session as Colorado faces a $1.2 billion budget shortfall. Who do you blame? Democrats pointing at the Republicans in Congress going, your big, beautiful bill has caused this problem. We don't have as much tax dollars coming in as we used to. People are going to die in the street as a result. Republicans going, look, you've built all these special programs on one-time funding that came in around COVID, and you never budgeted to continue funding these. It's not right that the American people continue to be taxed at a high rate to pay for your special little progressive programs. Give the money back to the people. Colorado's already having a hard enough time in its business climate already. Let's go to the phone lines. Ben Morrison. Good morning, Ben. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We got you.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. What neither party seems to want to do is recognize that we need to do a combination of both, probably increase revenue and decrease spending both at the same time. So there needs to be some tax increases and also some spending reductions both at the same time if you want to actually try to balance bills, if you want to address the federal deficit, if you want to do any of that. So the big bonehead bill did not help, and some of the stupid little projects that Democrats have done haven't helped either. In our state. So both those things are at fault.
So with regards to tax increases, Coloradans have watched their property taxes skyrocket. We've watched our fees put on us now increase by 3,000%. In Colorado, it just seems like there's never enough money for the Democrats. So who should pay more, in your mind, that's not currently paying?
I would increase it on our upper tier earners. A lot of the people that are in the very, very highest brackets pay an effective rate of only 8%. So I would go after some of that and try to close some of the loopholes that they use to get out of paying taxes.
Yeah, tax wealth, not work. That's the issue. That's the base fundamentalism. Yeah.
Those wealthy people, right, who've built that wealth over time, should give it to the government to do their little special projects. That's a good use of that money, you think?
I think they should be paying the effective tax rate that they're supposed to be paying and not getting out of it. I shouldn't have a higher tax rate than somebody that makes, $70 million, $80 million a year.
You think it's the rate that's important, not the amount?
I do think it's the rate.
All right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, if you ever read that Publica report, what they're doing is they basically take a lot of their stock investments, they use that as capital to take out loans, and then, for example, Jeff Bezos was recording an $80,000 a year income tax. He was saying he only made $80,000 a year, and that's not true. I know that's not true. But then what he does is he uses his stock gains as capital to take out loans. And he'll take out, a $3 loan that year and then use that, which he pays an effective rate on, 4% or 3% or something like that. And then, uses that for his funding and then can pay it off easily with just selling stocks or some of the stock gains.
Yeah.
So they've been cheating the system.
Okay, we understand your position on taxing. Let's go after the spending. What should the state of Colorado cut?
Well, unfortunately, the biggest things where most of the money goes in the state are Medicaid and schools. Hands down, those are the highest. I think there's a lot of waste probably in the higher education system in colleges. So I think there's some things that need to be addressed there. I think there's some stupid programs going on in some of the higher education, and schools shouldn't be that expensive. I think we need to invest more in, some of the trade schools and some areas like that rather than CU or some of those schools.
Yeah, and Brent, I would also throw in that I think that some of our public school system, especially in the high school systems, get too administrative heavy. I think that some of those administrators, rather than having a vice principal for every grade, that what you do is you put people below them. What you do is you start getting lower workers and have them, you break up that administrative hold that they have inside. Because one, rather than paying for an extra vice principal, if I can get 3 professionals that can help another vice principal manage that set of students, that's for me a better spend, because we have given the people a lighter workload. They're responsible for less, but you can still keep the efficiencies. I think there's a problem there. Also, I think that some of our transportation issues and even the funding issues as far as food, the idea that we offered everybody free school lunch is dumb. That was phenomenally stupid because we should have means tested it. We absolutely should have. And understand the social structure. They say, well, people don't want to go in there and get free lunch. I know people that don't want to carry their lunch to school in a lunchbox because of social pressure. So it's, seriously. There are ways we can get around that, but yeah.
Bill, Jared Polis paid no federal income tax between 2013 and 2015. Also did not pay any federal income tax between 2001 and 2005.
Yeah, that's a BS. He should.
Yeah, he should.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And that's
ridiculous.
A problem.
Yeah. But again, he's never going to, but Brian, you know that he's never going to champion the idea that he should be paying more taxes. He'll say that you and I should, and Jeff should, not him. Not him. No. Never. Because that's not in his plan. As Christy Burton Brown and Barb Kirkmeyer outlined. That's not in his plan to go after that side.
Ben, appreciate the call. Thoughtful. Thanks so much.
Man.
Ben and Morrison, line open 303-696-1971. Let's go to Spencer Elizabeth. Good morning, Spencer. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning.
Hey, guys. Bill, I got to pick that big, beautiful brain of yours. Is this the same billion-dollar deficit from the beginning of the year?
I think it is, and Jeff may help me out on that one. I think we're still operating off the same budget deficit that they said they were going to fix during the regular session, and now that he come back and do a special session because the Democrats in charge didn't fix the hole in the budget, and so now they're called back to fix it again.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the big, beautiful bill didn't exist when that budget deficit was announced, correct?
You are correct, sir. Absolutely.
How do you blame the bill then?
Well, here's the idea: is what I'm blaming is the deficit did exist, and it's a very good point. But some of it was also planned spending that we had. There was allocation coming from federal money that was supposed to come into the state, and regardless of the reason why or who's responsible or anything else, that does create a problem. The idea of you inside of your family, let's say that there are in the whole family, you've got 4 people there, and 3 of you are of working age. Now, if one of you loses their job or has 2 part-time jobs and loses one of them, that is just going to change the amount of money that is flowing into the household for whatever reason. The big, beautiful bill, it is fair to say, changes the amount of money running into Colorado. But it is not fair for Governor Polis or the Democrats to say that is the cause of the budget deficit. It is accurate to say it makes it harder and makes things more difficult, but it's not the cause. And I think you're 110% accurate, Spencer, in kind of going to the idea of the Democrats are using the big, beautiful bill as an excuse. There is a horse apiece on both sides. The Democrats did profligate spending and made stupid programs, and the money they were counting on continuing to flow from the feds isn't anymore, and now they're caught in a tight.
So you heard Chuck Schumer come out and say, this is going to increase taxes 90 or whatever number figure he came out after all of this kind of settled and the bill was passed. It seems to me that the Democrats' plan to counter this bill was to say, we're not going to cut spending, we're going to increase taxes, and we're going to blame it on Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah. The political parties want to blame the other side for whatever all the time. That it wouldn't matter if Donald Trump came out and he balanced the budget tomorrow. The Democrats would find a reason to complain about why that sucks and it's going to destroy the country. And you can flip it the other side as well. I mean, how many times do we hear about the Biden crime family?
You can. But when you criticize Trump, we call in and defend it. I don't hear the left calling in and defending this stuff, and I know they're listening. Why won't they call in and defend it? And it's because I believe that just like Polis, they're cowards. Polis will not use his power because it will affect his constituency and his special interests if he has to cut programs that aren't vital to the state. And so instead of using the pen to solve the problem, he's going to pass it, kick the can down the road, and make the legislature do it.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
he's
tired
avoiding.
of this
He's
stuff.
avoiding responsibility. You're 110% accurate in it. He has the power. He can do it, but he wants to avoid responsibility because he still is looking for his future in politics. And any significant choice he makes on cutting things based on zeroing line items out or anything he can do through his executive powers will be held on him on a jacket later on. So yeah, that's why he's afraid of doing it.
Spencer, Elizabeth, great call. Sure,
Thanks, man.
appreciate it. His line will be open 303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Radio, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, August 27th, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 1595 South Colorado Boulevard in Denver. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill Show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, August 27th at IHOP.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Phone lines are hot. State of Colorado facing a $1.2 billion budget shortfall. Jared Polis calling an emergency legislative session gathering happening later this month in August to address it. Who do you blame? Let's go to Francis Golden. Good morning, Francis. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, you guys. Hey, I got to compliment you two. Those last two callers, this is a tough act to follow. Those two guys were on the ball.
Yeah, they were.
And they're attracted to the light, and you guys are the light. So I'm giving you a good compliment there. I'm just another moth. I'm following other moths. That's what it amounts to.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
So, hey, okay. So, I don't want to be duplicative, but the state's budget has always worked like a vice, and the one caller definitely hit the nail on the head with Medicaid contributions really taking it eats into the general fund, and so when you have Tabor on one side and revenue limits on the other, it necessarily requires you to go kind of rob the general fund of things all the time. And so the solution is really kind of both-sided. You have to get the tax component figured out. You have to cut spending. And I definitely think cutting spending is the first thing that you got to do. I'm going to offer this. There was a break glass in case of emergency scenario that was developed, I think, after the 2008 recession. And this is what I think is going to pop out of the, jackpot here with the special session is, and I'm loosely familiar with this, but Pinnacle Assurance, the state comp fund, which works as it's like supposed to be a mutual fund. They're going to sell that. It's been wanting to buy its freedom for a long time, and that's going to be about $1 billion minimally to buy out the para liability. And so that's going to be a temporary Band-Aid. The other thing that I think is going to happen and be proposed is there were scenarios kicked around about selling off various state assets, including land, some of the smaller colleges and higher education properties were also considered to, whether or not they need to go. And, so I think there's going to be a lot of that going on. It doesn't fix the problem in the long run, obviously, at all, to just, kind of Ma Flanders selling off the China doesn't help.
Now, Francis, I got a question.
What's going to come from this?
I got a question for you. I had someone, Tim, off air, wanted to put on the table the idea that we're focusing a lot on the budget as far as how much they're allocating, when really we should be focusing on the spend. And his critique is that the Democrats have been increasing spending beyond where growth is really realistic. So they own a lot of this as far as expanding growth, and they should look at the idea of constraining spending. But again, on the other side, the idea of, when you cut out money, if it's coming from the big, beautiful bill or not, that does create a problem as well. Do you think, Spencer, on the Jeff and Bill show, do you think that the Democrats are ever interested, in the big, beautiful bill? I'm sorry, now I got all mixed up. Francis, do you think, on the Jeff and Bill show, do you think that the Democrats are interested at all in cutting spending?
No, they're not. They're absolutely not. And the only thing that's kept this whole leaky boat afloat over the however many years is Tabor. If you remove that governor, not like governor like Polis, but governor like controlling mechanism, if you removed that, this state would be sunk so many times over. Because these people don't have any, first of all, I lack any confidence that any on either side of the aisle, these different state reps that we elect in there through the term limited out process and things like that, most of these guys can't find the bathroom for the first 6 months down there, and none of them know how the state budget really works. I don't know how the state budget really works. I just have a very, very, very rudimentary handle on it, and they don't. So by the time they actually figure out what's going on, they're termed out. And none of these people, all they do is like a bunch of programs that all cost money.
Francis, great call. We got to get to a break, though. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is KNUS.